Well, yeah, y'all doing out there today? Listen, a lot of us are concerned about big oil and the lies and the wars and the death and the destruction of our planet that is causing from all the drilling and the fracking and the toxic sludge and the waste from it, and everything just seems to be crazy. And a lot of us don't really stop and think about how we got here or why we're still using gasoline after we've known all this time that it's no good. And if you'll research this, if you really look into it, I just read a paper by a fellow named Julian Gerard. He wrote back in 2015 at Stanford University about why we are using gasoline still, and a little bit of the history of it, and it filled in some blanks for me. So I want to just share with you why you're still using gasoline and how big oil has lied and literally toxified an entire planet and has, if nothing else, has killed millions of people and has made millions of more people sick, has smog all over cities, and all along, y'all, all along, it was never designed to be this way. So let's start at the beginning of it. Before there was any oil or kerosene or gasoline, oil was worthless, y'all. By the way, it was worth less than water, and water was dirt cheap. It was free. So basically, oil's never really been worth anything except for a lubricant. Before kerosene came around, right during the same time the Civil War started, and that's a key point in our history because the military-industrial complex, that is the birth of it, was the Civil War. Weapons of mass destruction, fuel sources, buying out governments, building war machines, making money and profit off of war started with this, y'all. So it's very key in our history for many, many reasons, but let's stick to oil right here. Before then, people used kind of a mix of methanol and turpentine. It was called camphene. They used that for their lamps. It was cheaper than whale oil or lard oils. That's all the kind of fuel. That was the burning alcohol of the time. And about the time that the Civil War started, the federal government decided to heavily tax alcohol. And I'm not talking about drinking alcohol. I'm talking about any kind. There was also another alcohol out there that was a fuel for the engines that were being invented at the time, the 1 horsepower and 3 horsepower engines that were used for different things. And that was ethanol. So ethanol was invented at this same time. So all this is before gasoline, y'all. But this tax was put on, it was a Civil War alcohol tax. And it was so heavy that it just dropped that industry. And it just so happens at this same time they discovered kerosene. So kerosene was very dirt cheap, right? Because oil was cheaper than water, and water was free. This planet, by the way, because oil, I'm gonna give you one of the big lies right now. Oil is not a fossil fuel. They told you that to make it sound limited. Oil is unlimited. It is the second biggest liquid on this planet. That's another major lie. You have been lied to. It is not fossil fuels. It is not from the dinosaurs. It is not pockets of oil here and there, and they go around getting them. That's just a lie. Oil is unlimited. All right, but that's not the point here. So I want to talk about why you're using oil and gasoline right now. So with this alcohol tax, which wasn't lifted until 1906, like 45 years later, that's when all the engine inventions came around. Henry Ford, Rudolph Diesel inventing the diesel engine, and which was named after him, not the fuel, and the fuel was named after that engine. And Henry Ford's combustion engine. These were all invented during this time period while there was still this heavy alcohol tax. So that's how big oil got the foothold. The gasoline was cheaper, but the engines were actually invented on hemp fuel, high grade, high octane type fuels, distilled fuels that could be made from corn. Anything that you can make liquor from, that you can make ethanol from, and it's dirt cheap. So you could use all that GMO corn, by the way, all that worthless corn we don't want to eat. You can use waste. You can actually use waste to make ethanol. So whatever, that's why it was cheap, and oil was dirt cheap. It was competing. That's why when I believe it was Theodore Roosevelt at the time, lifted the alcohol tax to give ethanol a chance, a lot of people didn't open up distilleries to make the alcohol. They didn't really think, there was any money in it because it was so dirt cheap and the oil was so dirt cheap. So once again, big oil bought these out, especially Standard Oil. They're key in this. They bought them out. Now, up until about the 1930s, ethanol had really been played out again. Like I said, nobody wanted to make it, and big oil was getting its foothold into the government itself. Anybody that did try to stand up and make ethanol, anybody that did try to make their own fuel for their cars, because guess what? You could take pure ethanol and pour it into your car right now and run your car off of it. These new cars, you might need a few modifications, but with that combustion engine, it was actually a premium, cheaper, better fuel, 40% cheaper than gasoline, which was probably 20 cents a gallon. So that meant ethanol was, 60 cents, whatever, it's just 5 cents a gallon. So, 7 cents a gallon. So you got to look at how much cheaper it was. And it kept the engine from knocking. Gasoline would be like the low grade cheap solution for the alcohol, but the alcohol was just as cheap. But big oil lied to Congress. They told them that the ethanol wasn't going to work, even though the automotive industry at the time, which wanted to make better cars, they wanted to make a quality product. The old automotive manufacturers, the Fords, the other names that you've never heard of people that were building cars at the time, they wanted to have something that had the best fuel, and the best fuel was the ethanol. But the market wasn't there for it. Big oil stepped in. They also got the automotive industry. You notice how it turned into just making disposable engines by the 60s and 70s, especially in the 70s. You started getting the cheapest ass cars in the world, and the car wasn't designed to last no more. The automotive industry got just as greedy as big oil because they actually hooked up on this lie. So in the 30s, as they kept demonizing it, making ethanol look worse and worse, it just actually went away. Then the taxes started coming back. Then the incentives for big oil to do their thing came back. And then they took over the educational system. They actually got the federal government after the 1950s, when the federal government took over the federal the school system. The federal government took over the school system all across America, but federalized it. They taught one thing, and they taught you that oil came from dinosaurs and it was limited. In the 70s, they lied about an oil embargo and said that all the oil was in Saudi Arabia and that we were running out of oil, and that's where all the little cars and stuff came from. So you see, big oil actually just got lucky because a war broke out and they decided to tax alcohol. And at that period of time, when all the combustion engines were being invented, when the engines for works, the trains, all this, oil was nothing but a lubricant, a cheap, nasty, tar-looking lubricant, and then it got turned into kerosene, then it got turned into gasoline, then it was this dirt cheap fuel for the high taxes on alcohol. If the federal government had never taxed alcohol, you would not be using gasoline today. You would be using a pure, clean burning fuel. Brazil used it for a long time. They got attacked over it, I believe, in the 80s. France, Germany, they all use ethanol for the longest time. But big oil, as they made money, they snowballed in buying out our government, lobbying against any alternative fuels. That's their only way to stay in business, is to lie to you and tell you that it's a limited product, that we have to go murder other people and take their resources from them because they don't know how to manage them, because there's only this little bit of oil left. They have completely lied to you about that. It was never limited. It was never worth a penny. It damn sure ain't worth the $2 to $5 a gallon that you're putting into your tank right now. It's all high tax, lied about industry that has kept cancer, death, wars, famine, toxifying whole lands, destroying our water systems, all over this when we could have been making fuel out of corn all along because of some stupid war and some government making money off taxes. And they decided to tax all forms of alcohol. And I mean, they taxed them bad. That's why you're on gasoline right now. So go back and look at your history, and see why we're here today. But here's where you got to stop and think. We're being sold a lie. We use it every day. Now that you know it's a lie, how can you still support this. Now, I'm not telling you to go quit driving your car. I'm not telling you to, not go fill up at the gas tank. No, we can't do that. That's impossible. But when you know the truth, that big oil's a lie, that all these wars are for nothing, that these are basically, and I'm going to put it like it is, the Texas oil boom and those men that became rich like the Bushes, when you give people like the Bushes billions of dollars, look at what they did. That's the kind of people that control oil, that control what you know about oil, that control the media that tells you about oil, that is lying about what they've done to our climate, that is lying about what they've done to our children, that's lying about what they've done with these wars. These are the oil barons of the world, and now they run it. They got their boy in there, their puppet, and he's opened it wide open for an industry that should never even be there. An industry that should never be there. And so, if that tax came in the early 1860s, then wouldn't that be Abraham Lincoln? What the hell was going on with him? So whatever. A war caused the tax. The tax caused you to miss out on opportunities. 45 years of not using the fuel source that was supposed to be used. That gave almost a half a century for big oil to get their foothold in. And they're in. And it's a lie. So I don't want to hear about fossil fuels. I don't want to hear about clean energy. Ethanol burns clean. Even the people that try to mix it into the gas now get taxed higher than the regular gas. They don't want you using anything but their cheap, nasty gasoline that actually tears up an engine, puts out an exhaust that is ungodly, and then they want to go make fake trees with bio-solar leaves to soak up the CO2 and throw out the oxygen, just make more unnatural shit to make up for their problems. It's probably the reason they're spraying the sky. We know it's the reasons for the wars. We know it's the reason for a lot of sickness. We know it's a lot of reasons for rich fat cats that should have never had money. A bunch of bastards that should have never had money got money, and now they got this country the way they want it. Their sick little version of America, because they're the super elite, and they do own this government, y'all. And you can't see that, and you're just blind, or you don't want to see it. But look, I ain't trying to make none of y'all feel guilty about using gasoline. I know you got to do what you got to do, but I got to do what I got to do, and that's tell you where it comes from and why you're using it, and why we're not using something cleaner. We're the consumer. When will y'all ever get that through your heads? You run this show with your little bit of money, because your little bit of money and your brother's little bit of money and your sister's little bit of money, it's what the hell we buy. But we just buy anything. So are we suckers? I mean, I ain't no sucker, and I don't think you no sucker. We buy anything. So don't refuse it. Buy less. We could go on strike with gasoline for one day. You go fill up on the money. We could go a week even and say, no, we ain't buying your shit. That would shut them down. They've already made so much money. They got it invested in all these wars. Every time you buy gasoline, you buy into war, because they use the wars for the excuse to take it from other pockets in the world. But it's everywhere. It's all underneath it. Now they're going down into Venezuela and y'all buying that shit. And it's no good when there is a clean alternative. You do have hemp fuel. You do have ethanol. You don't even have to change your stupid gasoline engine. You don't got to get rid of your car. But we do got to get rid of the fuel. Because the fuel, it's not that it's so much that it's dangerous and toxic. Look what it does with the wars. Look what it has. Look at the people that control it. They no longer need to be in control. Let me just put it there that simply. The people that run big oil, that run our country, that basically run this world, no longer need to be in control. They are in control because of gasoline and the military-industrial complex, which gasoline fuels. You could, let me tell you something. You want to get cheap? I love to get cheap. I love to get cheap and give and take what my Mother Earth gives me. You could grow your own corn. You could go buy a sack of corn. You don't even got to grow your own corn. You know how easy it is to make corn liquor? Well, I'll tell you, it's easy. It's real easy. And you could go make you corn liquor and pour it in your tank. And you would never have to buy their stuff again. You would probably have 10 cents to a gallon after your initial cost of making your steel and of making your own fuel. But see, they lobbied against that kind of law. They don't want, you got to look at what they've done with the laws just with big oil and how there's no regulation to it, how there's no even safety for the workers. Like my brother out here I love to death. I'm not going to bring up his name. I worry about him all the time. He is an oil field worker. He could be working on the farm. He could be working at the refinery to make it, because all you're doing, you ever hear of any Jack Daniels distilleries blowing up or people dying from cancer at Jim Beam from making distilled liquor? Huh? They ain't. And that was the original fuel for burning it. That is what, and the hemp fuel was what the engines were designed to run off, invented to run off of anyway, the diesel and the gasoline engine. Henry Ford himself called ethanol the fuel of the future. That was 100 and something years ago, y'all. Here's the future. Gasoline's still here with all that it does, all that it is, all that it ain't. But it's us, the consumers, that buy it. But we buy it because we bought the lie. We listen to the lie about fossil fuels. We listen to every time that a refinery blew up or a train wrecked and gas prices went up. Every time that they said they burned the oil wells in Iraq or they're holding the oil over in the Middle East, or we had a tanker spill over here and gas shoots up. It's nothing but a big money-making scam. It's worthless. It's useless, it's toxic, and it's not even what was meant to be used. A dumb tax messed us up. Well, now you know the truth. You can decide to do what you want to do on everything in your life. I want to say that to all y'all. You can make a decision about what you do. You can change up anything you want to, anytime you want to. But here's the thing with me, why I seem to have a lot of trouble and not seem to get along. Every time I reach a certain truth in my life, I can't look back. That's why I quit driving 25 years ago. It's why I quit the industry 8 years ago. It's why I couldn't machine parts. I didn't want to make jet engines no more. I didn't want to build fracking rigs. Every time I see the lie in my life, I can't look back. I have to stay with the truth. Now, you know the truth about something, and you still got to survive. I completely understand that. But there's going to come a point, anytime you want to, anytime you feel ready, step away from the lie. Consume as little as possible of their bullshit. And take in all you want of the things you need. You need good, clean food. You need good, clean water. You need good entertainment out in the Mother Earth. So enjoy those things. If you got to drive to go to the woods, fine. That's the way it is. But that ain't the way it's supposed to be. And when you see a chance to lobby for a law or to help stop big oil, this is why we're stopping it. This is the lie. It is no good, and there is an instant, immediate alternative. And it's right there, and it grows out of the ground, and you'll never have to drill another hole. You'll never have to puncture the Arctic or the Antarctic to get it. You don't gotta go out in the oceans and go through the ocean and risk another Deepwater Horizon spill. You don't have to have a Chernobyl or a Fukushima. You just gotta grow. And this planet is a growing planet full of plants and life. Duh. Ever stop and think about that? She provides. You never had to puncture her or put toxic crap on her or smash atoms together. You never had to get complicated. Your technology sometimes outweighs your dumb ass. Just grow something. Look at how things originated. Look at the original textile. That's hemp. But you want to rather use a pine tree for paper. Wow. And the pine tree ain't even natural. I mean, just think about this, y'all. Because that's very important these days, because it's going to get to a point where you're going to have to be going back to old school original ideas anyway. Because of these lies, like the big oil lie. Look at how big oil literally lied for money and literally murdered a planet. Wow. and we helped them do it. But we were fooled. Don't be fooled. And once you realize you've been fooled, that ain't no shame in being fooled once. But you keep it going, that shame is on you. So do what you can. All right, do what you can. That's the best you can do. It's all you can do. But don't live the lie. And don't deny the truth. When people start talking about big oil, somebody says fossil fuels, say, what'd you call that? Fossil fuels? Are you not with it? This is 2019. Do you not realize that it's not fossil fuels? By the way, there is several big oil executives that came out and actually admitted many times that they lied and called it fossil fuels, so you would think it was limited to however many dinosaurs there were before the asteroid hit. Well, I didn't live in the Jurassic period. I don't know how many dinosaurs there were, but I know that they have never found oil nowhere near a fossil. Did you ever stop and think about that? They have never found oil anywhere near the depth of a fossil. It's way deeper. Think about that. But anyway, it's up to you. We face so many things, y'all. We talk about this a lot now. We face so many things that are crazy. We're this wild, amazing, and horrific point in history right now. And we got to face it. And this is how we do it. But we don't look away. We go, we evolve, we change with this planet. That's how it works. Coexist to exist. All right? I love y'all. Peace. And tell Big Oil, kiss your ass. You ain't believing them lies no more. I love y'all. Don't live in fear.